Hey guys, Anthony here for Rev3 Games. I am at E3. I just watched a presentation on The Last of Us. This is Neil. He is the creative director on the game. And what we saw is essentially the same demo that we saw during the press conference, but played very differently. This one was played with a bit more of a cautious style, I would say. Tell me about the different kinds of gameplay choices that you will be able to make here.
So what we really wanted to demonstrate with this demo and why we show the same demo twice is because there's so much player choice in The Last of Us. And for example, that whole first fight that you saw in the press conference, here the way Bruce was playing it, he totally bypassed. He picked up a bottle, he threw it into the bathroom, distracted some guys, snuck around them. There was one guy in his way that he kind of choked out, and then he continued upwards. And once he reached like the upper floor, all the guys that in the press conference demo came down because they heard gunshots, now they're just like wandering the area and they have no clue that you're there. So that fight kind of played out in a whole new way as well.
Talking about that sort of decision to sneak around instead of running into a gunfight, would there be ways in different situations in the games to avoid violence at all? I would think in a survival situation, your first instinct is to run and stay safe, right, rather than go at somebody. Could you make it through there without killing everyone?
There's definitely going to be situations that you can make through without killing a single guy. But over the journey of the game, it's such like kill or be killed environment. I mean, these guys, it's a continuation of the cinematic we recently released where these guys are out for blood. You're in their camp. If they find you, they're going to kill you. And Joel knows that. So as a player, if you can, sometimes you're going to want to stealth around. Sometimes you'll be like, that guy's between me and my way out of here. I can take it out. I can take the items off his body and then keep going.
So continuing on with that, the more sort of safer, more cautious way to play through, in the original demo that we saw, Joel found some bandages and made himself a Molotov cocktail. In this one, he decided to actually use them as bandages. With every item that you find in the game, will there be sort of an offensive and defensive way to use it?
Yeah, I mean, again, another for player choice is we want to encourage a player to go off the beaten path and explore the environments. We have these big open environments, and we want you to open drawers, open cabinets. When you find bodies, like search the bodies, and you're going to find different items. With those items, you can craft offensive weapons, like you saw in the press demo. It was a Molotov cocktail. There's other offensive weapons you can craft, or you could, with those same items, because like to craft a Molotov cocktail, it's with a bottle of alcohol and bandages. With those same items, you could craft a health kit. So with the health kit, you saw Joel kind of like bandaging up his arm and healing. So you could choose to go offensively or defensively, how you want to play.
And speaking of offensive or defensive situations, Ellie in the demo came out raging, hit somebody with a brick, got on somebody's back to kind of defend Joel. How much of that stuff is scripted? Does Ellie decide on the fly when to hide and when to attack, and how does she make those decisions?
So it was important for us with Ellie and the other NPCs that you team up with, or that the ones that you fight, that they feel human. And that means they're constantly thinking. We had to rewrite our whole AI system. So they have memory, they remember where they saw you, they are communicating with each other, so as a group they're going to call out where they think you are or where they've last seen you. And likewise with Ellie, Ellie's running around and she's looking where the enemies are. She's remembering where she's last seen enemies. She calls out to you, it's like, Joel, over there. So she's letting you know where enemies are kind of like coming around. Likewise, Ellie can pick up weapons. You've seen she has a little switchblade that she uses sometimes, or she can pick up a brick and saves you when you run out of bullets. But these are systems. These aren't scripted like scenarios. These are systems that Ellie can use. If that same scenario was played without going into the room and Ellie didn't find the brick, that sequence would have played out pretty differently.
And talking about just Joel and Ellie fighting people in this sort of player decision again, the reason I ask all these questions about can I hide, can I not kill somebody is, in the demo especially, it looks, when you kill somebody, it's kind of brutal. It's more brutal than I think. I don't want to say brutal in terms of violence, but brutal in terms of the realism of it. That kind of made me not want to kill people. How did you kind of balance that sort of brutal realism and kind of not get it towards the point where you're sort of exploiting it? And how do you kind of get an emotional reaction from the player with it?
Well, I think violence can be gratuitous when you're just doing it for the sake of shocking people. But with The Last of Us, what we're trying to go for is it's about this bond between Joel and Ellie. Every decision we've been making about this game is about how do we reinforce this bond? How do we get players to buy into this relationship? And the only way, right, we're going for like pretty hard to reach emotions, especially in games of love, loyalty, sacrifice. And the only way we're going to be able to reach those emotions if we get you to buy into the world, the threat that exists out there. These guys, if you don't kill them, they're going to kill you. They've just ambushed you. And the gameplay you didn't see that happens before the demo is there's a guy that throws Ellie on the ground and starts choking her out. So Joel knows how serious the threat is. What happens if these guys spot you? And sometimes that means I'm going to take him out first.
Right on. Do we know when we're seeing The Last of Us yet?
We're not announcing our release date just yet.
No problem. I won't pressure you. But if you wanted to maybe like make a hint at the camera or whatever, we could do that. Well, we'll have more information for you on The Last of Us as we get it. And of course, we're here at E3 all week. We're seeing tons of stuff, so be sure you're subscribed. Neil, thanks for joining me.